They're not affecting us, at least not directly or significantly, so that's the good news. Yes, it's very humid. We have a little bit of a decent onshore wind out of the east and out of the southeast. There's a rip current risk on our area beaches, but that's even really regardless of whether or not we had tropical systems out there. We're not getting direct impacts, and that's the good news. Now, it's not so good to our west.
That's right. To our west, definitely our friends along the Gulf Coast, they're definitely on guard, but luckily for us, and we'll show you why it's steering away from us, we're just going to have little to no impacts locally, so that's some good news there, like you said. But if you have friends and family along the Gulf Coast, I'm sure they're staying up to date, but just check in on them here and there, make sure they're staying up to date with their weather alerts. Yeah,
so Alyssa and I will continue to go through this, what we have going on right now over the next few minutes. This is meant to be interactive. We'll try to answer some of your questions. We're not going to get to all of them, I doubt, tonight, but we'll get to at least some of them. And let's take a look at what we have going on right now, because these systems continue to make their move to the west and to the northwest. Alyssa's going to go over to the desk, and then we'll start talking to you guys and going through our graphics. Marco is struggling. There's no question about that. There's a lot of southwesterly shear. There are bursts of thunderstorms near its center, which has happened multiple times since yesterday. It managed to become an estimated hurricane this afternoon. I say estimated because that's at flight level, and you have to take into account, of course, friction and all that sort of stuff when you estimate the winds down at the surface of a system like this. But it's a low-end hurricane or a high-end tropical storm, and really its movement is not cut in stone. It's going to turn more to the north and west, and there are some indications that this could just skirt the coast rather than moving inland. And then behind it, we have Laura, which is a healthier looking tropical system, quite honestly. It has the more classic donut appearance, if you will, some banding features. It has upper level outflow, and there's indications of upper level high pressure nearby. It's a little bit stronger, and the center seems to be staying away from land for the most part. That was true of Hispaniola. It was a little bit over Haiti for a time. Alyssa's now putting on here the shear, and you can see where there's green is quite a bit of shear, and it's moving away from that shear zone, so it's going to get into an area even more favorable for development, Laura that is, and so as it moves west-northwest, it's expected to strengthen. Now, here is Marco, and look at this shear. I told you that southwest shear that went out of it, and you can clearly see how strong that is, 20 to 30 miles per hour, and it becomes even stronger through tomorrow. So Marco is not likely to intensify significantly and could even weaken some upon approach to the south coast of Louisiana tomorrow, and then turning pretty sharply to the west. So Alyssa, what else have we got out there to show our viewers tonight?
Well, we actually have the two tracks. We have the latest advisory at around 8 o'clock, mainly focusing on the intensity and the location. But the latest track will be coming out at 11 o'clock, so be sure to join us on CBS 47. But the tracking of these two storms are still forecasted to move into the Gulf. As you know, Marco is already in the Gulf as a Category 1 hurricane, and it's going to sustain with its current track as a Category 1 hurricane as it approaches the Louisiana coastline. But something that was really big about the latest track advisory was that it was taking a little bit more of a curve, and a lot of the models were also showing it kind of curving along the Louisiana coast and kind of tearing over towards the Texas coast. So that was pretty big with the latest advisory, and that's something we're going to be watching because that can definitely lessen the impacts along the central Gulf Coast right there. But then here comes Laura following in behind, and also another change with the last advisory was it to be a strong Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds of 105 miles per hour. This is Wednesday at 2 p.m., probably making landfall from between Wednesday afternoon through around Thursday morning. But definitely you don't see this all the time, Mike. We've been seeing on social media that people were always asking, has this happened before?
Right, and not very often, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, because it's a pretty small basin. If it's the Atlantic, that'd be a much different story. And we have seen multiple times where we've had multiple storms, say Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean, and the Atlantic at the same time. But to have two named storms in the Gulf of Mexico does not happen very often. In fact, the last time we had two named storms in the Gulf of Mexico, you have to go back to 1933 in early September. Brownsville was hit by a Category 3 hurricane, and the Treasure Coast Category 3 hurricane on the west coast of Florida. So they were on opposite sides of the Gulf of Mexico, but back-to-back landfalls that were less than 24 hours apart. So pretty impressive in their own right. And in this case, we have two systems that are even a little bit closer. We want to emphasize, however, and we've had a lot of scuttlebutt about this, that these are not interacting. It does not appear that they're going to interact. No Fujiwara effect going on here. They're right now, two very distinct different systems. As Marco peels to the west and weakens, and Laura comes up to the north and becomes the dominant storm, there may be a little bit of interaction at that point, but it wouldn't look like it would be of anything of any consequence. Now, what's steering these things? And we talk every year, every hurricane season, about the Bermuda High, where it's located, how strong it is, and this is no exception. This is our protector here at home, Jacksonville, Northeast Florida, and Southeast Georgia, when it comes to Laura and Marco, because it's pretty strong. It's been expanding to the west, so Laura and Marco have had to take the low road, so to speak. With Marco way to the west, Laura going well to the south, and then to the west, right around our friendly, if you will, this time of year, Bermuda High. Now, it does mean that it is going to be hot the next couple of days. We still have this tropical moisture, some scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, but the temperatures by midweek will get even hotter. But the upshot is it keeps our tropical systems to the west, which is good news as we continue to see, Alyssa, these systems move far to the south and to the west of our area right here at home.
Right, exactly. And Mike, you were saying some good news for us is that we're going to be seeing definitely little to no impacts. And I actually have a question from Lacey. Lacey was asking that, you know, she's heard from our broadcasting that there will be some slight impacts, and what exactly will they be, and what times and what days? So I think that's a great question.
All right, good question. Let's take a look at these impacts. Again, virtually no impacts, but because we have a strong east to southeast wind coming in off the Atlantic, and it's helped a little bit by the circulations of these two tropical systems, but with that strong onshore flow, we get a moderate to high rip current risk at the area beaches. So the best advice, quite honestly, over the next couple of days is to stay out of the water. Those rip currents can be very dangerous, and with school not in session in some places, or mix of whether or not you're actually in a school versus being at home, there are more people at the beaches right now, and so boy, use some extra care, because the rip current risk is a very serious one, and that's ongoing. It's been occurring over the weekend and will for the next couple of days. An increase in the tropical moisture, that just means really high humidity, and an increase in some of the rain and the showers and isolated storms, but really not very significant. This is typically a very wet time of year, not anything unusual. And then those onshore winds that'll be a little breezy and gusty at times, especially tomorrow and tomorrow night. We're still only talking 15 to 25 miles per hour or so. A heavy band of storms or showers could move in with a quick gust of 30 or 40 miles per hour the next day or two, but that would be about the extent of it, Alyssa. We're not in very bad shape when it comes to that sort of thing. There is the beach forecast, Alyssa.
Yeah, and I'm going to break down the beach forecast because some people, you know, might be taking off tomorrow, or they're just, you know, still working from home. So if you are going to the beach tomorrow, as Mike said, we do have those onshore winds. So that's going to rough up our surf a little bit, giving us a high rip current risk tomorrow. Actually, this is incorrect. It says moderate, but it's going to be high, and surf is going to be ranging from around 3 to even 5 feet tomorrow. Definitely going to update that graphic. I don't know why it's not, Mike, but you know, in this business, sometimes the graphics lag a little bit behind. But yes, tomorrow, if you are going to our beaches, definitely you want to be on guard. Yeah,
surf building to as high as 3 to 5 feet tonight and tomorrow. And that is, as Alyssa mentioned, transitioning from a moderate to even a high risk for rip currents. Here's where the watches and warnings are in effect right now. Hurricane warning for New Orleans and the south coast of Louisiana. But again, as Alyssa mentioned earlier on, there are indications that the track's going to bend perhaps more to the west. This does not look to be, Marco, a major hit on the Gulf Coast, and that would include New Orleans. The problem is it is going to be plenty of water, a lot of heavy rain, a strong east to southeast wind pushing right into Lake Pontchartrain and the mouth of the Mississippi and into the Gulf Coast region. So that's going to be some extra water, and that's important when it comes to storm number 2, Laura, later in the week, because that means it's going to have already rained a lot here. There's a lot of water in the system, so to speak. It's saturated, and then you bring in the heavy rain, the storm surge with potential hurricane Laura, and that's the one I think we have to be especially wary of and careful of along the Gulf Coast anyway, again away from our area. Still have tropical storm warnings for parts of Haiti, virtually all of Cuba, the Cayman Islands, tropical storm warnings, and then tropical storm watches are still in effect for the Central and Lower Keys. This is going to be close as far as any direct impacts of any consequence to the Keys, even as far west as Key West. But we may see some low-end tropical storm force winds in Key West for a brief time tomorrow and tomorrow night. But that's where our watches and warnings are in effect right now, Alyssa.
Yes, that's right, Mike. And also I found some information on Louisiana. Of course, the track is adjusting as we just saw the latest update from 5 o'clock. showing the track of Marco kind of shifting a little bit more to the west, possibly offshore, possibly grazing the coastline of Louisiana. And I found some statistics. There have been multiple landfalls in the same calendar year for the Louisiana area, and the 4 years were 1860, 1893, 1985, and 2005. And those that live in Louisiana or know the Louisiana area, in 2005, that was when Katrina did make its way through the area, creating a lot of devastation. So 2005 was the last time there was three landfalling hurricanes in that same area. So the shortest time between the Louisiana hurricane landfalls was 17 days, and people have been asking, Mike, how far apart are these two storms, the Hurricane Marco and also Tropical Storm Laura, and when they fall behind each other, what is the timeline behind that?
Yeah, well, Marco is going to make its closest move to the Gulf Coast the way it looks during the day tomorrow, so that'll be Monday. And then Laura is either late Wednesday or perhaps not even until Wednesday night or Thursday. So it looks to be at least a 48-hour difference and maybe a little bit more than that. And there's the track again. The bend to the west on Marco, which would be about, at that point, as it's moving to the west, and moving somewhere near the Texas-Louisiana coast, would be about 400 miles away from Laura, as Laura is turning to the north and west and becoming the dominant storm. Again, expected to be perhaps a significant hurricane. All right, so that's kind of a summary of our tropics tonight. Just very quickly, we continue to expect some bands of showers and isolated thunderstorms over the next, through tomorrow late in the day. Tomorrow morning, some more schools go back to session. It will be very warm and humid early tomorrow morning. You'll feel that tropical air, and there'll be a chance for a shower or storm just about any time late tonight and tomorrow morning, especially closer to the coast, about anywhere through the middle of the day, and then especially inland in the afternoon and early evening. Keeps temperatures from being quite as hot in the upper 80s for highs, but of course that sky-high humidity makes it feel hotter, and then we'll dry out a little bit as we head toward the middle of the week. All right, Alyssa, how about some questions from our Facebook viewers tonight?
Okay, well, there was one great question from Chelsea. She says, "Hi, Mike!" Exclamation point. What causes changes in the Bermuda High area of atmospheric pressure, causing it to either be closer or farther from our shore? Which I think is a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Location and intensity of that Bermuda High is so critical and so important. It has a lot to do with the jet stream, how it's moving and how it's located. Has a lot to do with the temperature of our ocean. When is it hotter? Well, the ocean's hotter this time of year. It's at its peak in August and September. It's why it's the peak of the hurricane season. But it also has a tendency to develop these upper level high pressure areas. And so they do shift and move depending on locations of other storm systems and the jet stream. And again, how expansive that high is really critical on where these tropical systems go. And in this case, it's our protector for us here at home, because it's pushing Laura and Marco well to the south and then well to the west of Jacksonville, northeastern Florida, and southeastern Georgia. There's nothing else, by the way, cooking over the tropics right now, so to speak, but by about another 7 to 10 days, we're going to be watching perhaps a couple of systems that'll be trying to move across the Atlantic. Still a long ways out and plenty of time to track, of course. All right, Alyssa, what else do we have?
Really, those are the main questions that people have really been asking, Mike. Okay,
so we're in pretty good shape in that regard. Remember that Alyssa and I will be back beginning at 10 p.m. live on Fox 30 Action News Jax with all your latest First Alert weather information, of course, news as well. Then at 11 p.m. on CBS 47, Action News Jax, and Fox 30. It's a simulcast on Sunday nights, right? At 11 o'clock?
I am only Fox at 10.
It is not. It's always different than the weekdays when I'm typically working Monday through Friday. So it's Fox 30 at 10, CBS 47 at 11. Ian telling me in my ear, our very able director. Appreciate your help, Ian. And so we'll give you updates. And of course, at 11 on CBS 47 Action News Jax, that means that's the time that we'll also have all the latest updated information on both tropical systems, their strength, any update on the track and whatnot. And we'll, of course, be pouring over that information between now and 10, and then again at 11 p.m. to give you updates. We're on around the clock. ActionNewsJax.com. You can download for free our First Alert weather app, and on the radio, 104.5 WOKV. I'll be on live early in the morning tomorrow with an update on all the tropics and, of course, your own local weather right here at home. In the meantime, have a great night and even better Monday. Rainy days and Mondays. Have that umbrella handy. If you're headed back to school, good luck. Stay safe. Have that mask handy. We're going to get through all this together, okay? And in this particular case, the twin trouble in the Gulf of Mexico, Laura and Marco, not a problem for us right here at home. For Alyssa Pejic, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish. Have a great night, even better Monday.